asking the questions that matter, lighting the fire to scatter, dancing with thoughts that flatter, building the dreams we chase after. Whispers are turning to thunder, echoes are pulling us under, thousands dark in the night, guiding us into the light, exercising the mind so bright, smart equal particles they fly.
Oh, excuse me. Sorry about that. Good afternoon. Well, good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Thanks for joining me here. Let's get into these. Excuse me. Epstein Maxwell updates. Ooh, excuse me. All right. Now, if you missed it, the video footage for the depositions of Hillary Rodham Clinton and William Jefferson Clinton have been released. Went over both of them between last night and today. You can go to the Epstein/Maxwell files playlist, and they will be there. And keep in mind that overseeing these hearings are the House Committee on Oversight and Government Reform. Oh, excuse me. Now, a few things that people are a bit confused on, and it seemed to be the intention of some of the people asking questions to muddy the waters. Uh, Jeffrey Epstein did not have any consistent or stated political ideologies or leanings. Um, Also, by multiple people that were in Epstein's sphere, in his inner circle, he been described multiple times as strange and weird. He often asked people financially based questions, but seemingly only offered financial advice to those that were not wealthy or rich, like when we discussed his conversations with the Border Patrol agents, etc. Now, getting into these latest updates. Ghislaine Maxwell friend named in Epstein files found dead by suicide. A former excuse me, former Russian senator who appeared in the Jeffrey Epstein files and reportedly called Ghislaine Maxwell a friend has been found dead in Moscow, Russian state media has reported. Umar da, you know what? I'm not even going to pretend to know how to pronounce this. There we go.
Umar Zabrailov. Umar Zabrailov.
Okay, so Umar Zabrailov was discovered in a residential complex in the center of the capital on Monday with a gun next to him after what unnamed law enforcement agency called a suicide task reported. Umar's name surfaced in the recent released Epstein files due to 2001 emails with Ghislaine Maxwell, drawing renewed attention to his connections. He previously had to comment on his friendship with Sean Diddy Combs. So, another white man that doesn't want to face accountability. It's not far fetched. Being named in the files is not evidence of wrongdoing, but the finding has intensified scrutiny of prominent figures mentioned in the documents. Here's the thing. I wish people would understand the meanings of words or stop trying to change them. Files are just a collection of documents. And that's what these Epstein Maxwell files are. No, being named, just your name popping into them could be because somebody wrote your name down. Somebody was talking about you. Uh, a multitude of things. But the fact that this person also had to explain a friendship with Sean Diddy Combs, peculiar. When American businessman Paul Tatum was shot dead in Moscow in 1996, the case drew international attention to the risk facing foreign investors in Russia. Law enforcement said there is no criminal intent in Umar's death. TASS reported that Umar was taken to the hospital but was unable to be saved before he died. He was hospitalized following a suicide attempt in 2020, according to the agency. Why is it every time that a white man has multiple suicide attempts, they want to have a conspiracy theory surrounding it? Jeffrey Epstein Walk of Shame installation near White House, an epic public jab at Donald Trump Sr. A provocative Jeffrey Epstein Walk of Shame installation appeared near the White House in Washington, D.C., indirectly mocking Donald Trump Sr. The installation came after the first group of Epstein files was released in December 2025, listing many well-known people. The Department of Justice shared 11,000 files and 10 gigabytes of information about the late sex offender. It featured pictures of influential figures like Michael Jackson, Bill Gates, Donald Trump, Prince Andrew, Bill Clinton, Elon Musk, Alec Baldwin, Beyonce, Jay-Z, Diana Ross, Amy Schumer, Bruce Springsteen, and Whoopi Goldberg. According to the Daily Beast, the Walk of Shame, intended as a direct dig at the Hollywood Walk of Fame, was created using stickers placed near Farrago Square on March 1st, 2026. The installation was located about a 5-minute walk from where Donald Trump Sr.'s office officials residence. The mock plaques feature Jeffrey Epstein's face and the names of politicians and business leaders allegedly linked to him. Each sticker reportedly includes a QR code that directs users to Department of Justice documents or other publicly available materials referencing the individual's connection to Epstein. Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's accomplice, was also featured in the installation with the caption, "Child Sex Trafficker." She was convicted in 2022 and is serving a 20-year sentence. When Maxwell was arrested after Epstein's death, Donald Trump said, "I just wish her well," prompting widespread backlash. In later interviews, he has dismissed his connection and claims he was unaware of any wrongdoing. However, the documents showed several pictures, emails, and messages of Trump, who was a real estate developer at the time, spending time with Epstein, Maxwell, and several other women whose names were not shared. A sticker with Elon Musk's name was partially torn on March 1st, but its QR code reportedly led to a 2012 email in which Epstein invited Musk to his private island, Little St. James. And I keep telling y'all, Musk was invited. He was not begging to be invited. He just wanted the more animated, wild rave-style parties. Comprehension is key. In the email, Epstein asked, "How many people will you be for the heli to the island?" To which Musk replied, "Probably just Tallulah and me. What day night will be the wildest party on your island?" Right. See, this is what he's looking for. And Epstein's grammar, like, I understand it's laid back. You're communicating with friends and typos and etc. happen all the time. But geez Louise, if this does not show you that money does not buy intelligence, I don't know what else will. After the files were released, Elon Musk came under scrutiny. The Tesla founder wrote on X, "No one pushed harder than me to get the Epstein files released." Did you push? Or did you just not know the extent of what Epstein kept? You wanted to bury Trump, just like Epstein wanted to bury Trump. When he was done using Trump, he wanted to bury him. You were done using Trump, etc. He insisted he declined repeated invitations to visit Epstein's island and accused the correspondent of attempting to smear his name. Sweetheart, the only thing that's getting smeared is your baby gravy, all in the wrong places. In addition, Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick's name appeared in the display. He previously stated he met Epstein once in 2005 and then cut ties. However, the files show verified email contact between the two after Epstein's 2008 guilty plea for soliciting a minor. Lutnick admitted to having lunch with Epstein in 2012, but strongly denied any further relationship. Retail billionaire Les Wexner, founder of Victoria's Secret, is also included in the Jeffrey Epstein Walk of Shame. Wexner is mentioned extensively in the files, but he has denied knowledge of Epstein's crimes and claimed he was duped by the financier to whom he granted power of attorney over his finances in 1991. At no time did I ever witness the side of Epstein's life for which he is now infamous, he said. I was naive, foolish, and gullible to put any trust in Jeffrey Epstein, Wexner added as he spoke at a House Oversight Committee in February. Bill Clinton and his wife Hillary Clinton also testified before the House Oversight Committee last week. The deposition was held in New York, where they live, in Chappaqua, New York, to be specific. Okay. Now, if you've been following along with my series Learning Through Literature, as we've been going through the memoir Nobody's Girl by Virginia Roberts Giuffre, or if you've been following the Epstein case for a while now, then you're relatively familiar with a Miss Julie K. Brown. But you may only recognize her name or things like that. And you may not, know why her name is significant, why it keeps coming up, things like that. Well, we're going to discuss it a little bit. Excuse me. Whew. So, meet Julie K. Brown, the woman who brought down Jeffrey Epstein. I wouldn't say brought down, but let's go. It was by focusing on his silenced victims, says the dogged Miami Herald reporter, that she was able to help bring the billionaire sex offender to justice after police and prosecutors had failed. The town of Palm Beach in Florida, the crime writer Carl Hyacin has observed, is one of the few places left in America where you can still drive around in a Rolls-Royce convertible and not get laughed at. It's an unironic island filled with the super rich and famous plastic surgeons and, of course, the former U.S. President Donald Trump, who holds court at his ostentatious Mar-a-Lago resort. A satellite of Miami, the island prides itself on its flamboyant charity balls, but no amount of good cause fundraising can remove the whiff of corruption that hangs heavy in its subtropical air. If money talks in most places, in Palm Beach, it speaks with a confident authority that's seldom questioned. Never has that understanding been more egregiously demonstrated than in the case of the inscrutable financier and sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. In 2008, Epstein was sent to jail. It was jail. Yes, there's a difference between prison and jail. Having pleaded guilty to the charge of procuring for prostitution a girl below the age of 18. It was the culmination of a 3-year investigation involving 5 state and then federal authorities. The local police had uncovered evidence that Epstein had sexually coerced and abused scores of young women and girls, some as young as 13 or 14. There were also a number of testaments to rape. But all throughout, the prosecution seemed reluctant to take Epstein to court, and the police were always one step behind their target. For a start, Epstein appeared to be tipped off that he was going to be arrested. When the police arrived at his Palm Beach mansion, 6 computer hard drives had been removed, along with video recordings from his internal closed-circuit system. The police were never able to gain access to this potential evidence. Florida is notorious for its harsh prison system and lengthy sentencing. Someone accused of Epstein's alleged crimes might have been looking at 20 years in a gang-dominated penitentiary. Instead, he received an 18-month sentence, of which he served less than 13 months in a private wing of the county jail. He was granted immunity for himself and 4 assistants for any related charges, was awarded daily work release in which he was driven to his office by his own driver, and at night he was allowed to sleep with his jail door open. He also had access to another room where a television had been installed for him. How did he get off so lightly? And here's the thing. Everybody keeps acting as if Ghislaine Maxwell was a cohort. He never named Ghislaine Maxwell as a co-conspirator. Ghislaine Maxwell went on to be prosecuted and convicted. Just going to leave that there for y'all. And how was he able to return to his gilded world of billionaire friends and celebrity playmates without any real stigma attached to his name? These were the questions that Julie Brown, an overworked and underpaid investigative journalist at the Miami Herald, kept asking herself towards the end of 2016. I wanted to do a story on sex trafficking, she recalls on a Zoom call from New York, but every time I Googled Florida and sex trafficking, a story about Jeffrey Epstein came up. As she delved deeper, she realized just how far the authorities had bent over backwards to accommodate Epstein and his battery of well-paid lawyers. Although they seemingly had enough evidence to support his prosecution for much more serious crimes, they offered him a sweetheart deal on a relatively minor charge. Brown's intrepid work led to a 3-part Herald series in 2018 on Epstein that would encourage federal authorities to reopen the investigation and arrest the financier. As the world knows, in August 2019, Epstein would die in the Grim Metropolitan Corrections Center prison in New York. Whether from his own hand or another remains a subject to speculation. No, it doesn't. He offed himself. It's simple. Can we stop trying to still give grace and excuses for a diabolical white man? And eventually his former girlfriend and social aide, Ghislaine Maxwell, would be tracked down to near her New Hampshire hideout and charged with related crimes. The whole unsavory story is told by Brown in gripping detail in her just published book, Perversion of Justice. Yet every aspect of the previous paragraph would have seemed like pure fantasy when Brown began her research. Initially, there was little interest among her editors for what was an old story, and she was under pressure to concentrate on her reporting beat, Florida's notorious prison system. Then a short while later, the newly elected Donald Trump appointed Alexander Acosta as labor secretary in his administration, a position whose responsibilities included combating sex trafficking. Acosta had been the U.S. attorney for the Southern District of Florida, in which role he had approved Epstein's highly favorable plea bargain, going so far as to visit Epstein's principal lawyer in a secret hotel meeting some 70 miles from his office. I thought all this was going to come out, says Brown, an ebullient, plain-speaking woman in her late 50s, but he barely got questioned about it. So I thought, I wonder what the women now think about this, who were girls back then, who were betrayed. She's in no doubt that Trump's people, and almost certainly Trump himself, knew of Acosta's controversial role in Epstein's surprisingly lenient sentencing. Absolutely, she says, but it fits the pattern of the entire arc of the story. The crime was downplayed from the beginning, and I'm sure that Trump's people felt that this was a long time ago and it was no big deal. They never understand the seriousness and scope of crimes. Yes, they do. I don't know who that is. And just to be clear, that Perversion of Justice has been added to the Learning Through Literature series. I believe it is the next one after Nobody's Girl, I believe. So Bill Clinton allegedly recounted conversation in deposition that contradicts Trump's reasons for falling out with Epstein. U.S. Representative Maxwell Frost has stated that Bill Clinton's testimony before the House Oversight Committee on Friday directly contradicted Donald Trump's longstanding explanation for his falling out with disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein. According to Frost, Clinton recounted a conversation he had with Trump in New York City regarding Epstein. Clinton said that Trump told him their falling out was due to a land dispute. The White House, through Caroline Leavitt, has reiterated Trump's position. Leavitt said the president has always remained consistent that he kicked Jeffrey Epstein out of his club at Mar-a-Lago because, frankly, Jeffrey Epstein was a creep. Trump himself has previously stated that the break happened because Epstein allegedly poached employees from the spa at his Mar-a-Lago estate in Florida. He recalled telling Epstein, "Listen, I don't want you taking our people and then out of here." This version has been the president's go-to explanation for some time now. The problem is the employees, or at least one employee in question, was poached by Ghislaine Maxwell. Presumably, Epstein did not know where she was getting these people from. The Oversight Committee was happy with Bill Clinton's testimony, even praising him. During his testimony, because of his name appearing in the Epstein files, he was asked if Trump should be called in to testify. Clinton reportedly replied, "That's for you to decide," which Comer used to defend Trump after the deposition. This is what prompted Frost revelations. In his opening statement to the deposition, which he shared on X, Clinton emphasized that he believes no one is above the law, especially presidents. He also stated his hope that his appearance would move the country further away from the brink and back to being a country where we can disagree with one another civilly, where the search for the truth and justice outweighs the partisan urge to score points and create spectacle. And before we go on with this, I want to explain this is why the GOP-led Oversight Committee did things the way that they did. Because, yes, it was a closed-door deposition that eventually the footage was made public. And they did it this way because so many people are holding on to the clip farming, the quotes from the clip farming, instead of going back and watching, because it's tedious. Like I said, I sat through 4 hours and 34 to 35 minutes a pop. So this is why right now people are like, yeah, Bill Clinton exonerated Trump. No, he didn't. And this isn't a court proceeding. But they're going by these clips. Like, there are people making skits because Nancy Mace said that Hillary Clinton was unhinged and screaming at. She wasn't. But very few people are going back to actually fact check. Clinton reiterated his stand that he lost contact years before Epstein's crimes came to light and he never witnessed anything. He also added that the girls and women whose lives Epstein destroyed deserve not only justice but healing. His argument was simple, that as a person who grew up around domestic abuse, he would have turned Epstein in himself if he knew. Democrats on the panel have supported questioning both Bill and Hillary Clinton, but they also argue that the investigation be applied consistently, pushing for Trump to testify as well. Former First Lady Hillary Clinton also testified on Thursday, stating she did not know of Epstein's wrongdoing or recollection of ever meeting him. And here's the thing, people keep using, well, it was a bipartisan vote for Bill and Hillary to come in for specific questioning. Hillary Clinton didn't need to be there as long as she was. And it was clear by the end of both of their depositions that at least the chair, Comer, needed advice and guidance. And it's like you could have just asked for advice and guidance without doing this. But yeah. Maybe, just maybe, Trumpenstein, you should review or have somebody review and give you cliff notes, pictures, if you will, before putting out another statement. Just saying. A look at Jeffrey Epstein's political ties and influence. This is an article coming out of July 2019 by NPR. The Miami Herald has also been digging into Jeffrey Epstein's finances and political ties. Earlier today, we spoke with Casey Frank, the paper's investigations editor, and I asked him, how did Epstein make his millions? Well, that's a bit of a mystery, according to Casey Frank. He's a hedge fund manager, but it's also been a little murky who his clients might be. And that is also something that was reiterated in the conversations, well, in the deposition with Bill Clinton. He said, didn't know who his clients were, never talked about it. And once again, like I said, Epstein had a reputation for asking people financial questions. That's really weird for a hedge fund manager. But once again, in speaking to him, Jeffrey Epstein was not beholden to a political party or any well-known political ideologies. Pam Bondi rejects accusations that she was caught red-handed altering an FBI document tied to Jeffrey Epstein. Attorney General Pam Bondi rejected accusations that she was caught red-handed altering an FBI document tied to Jeffrey Epstein, clashing publicly with Kentucky Republican Thomas Massie during a heated congressional exchange. Here's the thing. Pam Bondi reminds me of an abusive, narcissistic person in a relationship. Like, I've decided this. We don't need to have a conversation. I decided it. And whatever I say is just the end all be all. Go fuck yourself. The confrontation centered on disputed redactions in the FBI document and broader accusations that the Department of Justice exposed victim information while shielding powerful figures. Massie pressed Bondi on edits to the FBI document that briefly obscured the name of billionaire Les Wexner as a co-conspirator. Bondi said the problem was fixed within 40 minutes. Massie responded with 40 minutes of me catching you red-handed. Bondi dismissed the claim, insisting there was one redaction and we invited you in. She then attacked Massie personally, saying, this guy has Trump derangement syndrome. You're a failed politician. He's on the committee questioning you. Bondi argued that the DOJ acted quickly and transparently once the issue was identified, rejecting the notion that the change amounts to a cover-up. The exchange escalated as Bondi questioned why Massie had not pursued Epstein-related oversight during the Biden years, because we know that court proceedings were going on. And I wish I would stop trying to confuse people, because you're doing this for political fodder. And the problem is you have people who are victims right now that are like, they don't want to go through the court system because you're giving them a skewed idea of how things go. Once again, I'm going to say this. The cover-up has been the general public. The cover-up has been the general public. Now with that, there are quite a few other updates that have been added. And with that, I will see you all at 7 p.m. over on TikTok to continue with Nobody's Girl, the memoir of Virginia Roberts Giuffre, one of the more vocal of the Ghislaine Maxwell Jeffrey Epstein, victims. Right now, go take a break, get something to eat, and hopefully enjoy some part of your day.